things you mentioned was the school to prison pipeline. What is the school to prison pipeline?
So, as I mentioned before, with the priorities that our state has shown, where we've invested more in prisons than our own schools, we are right now spending over $62,000 to house a prisoner every year. And that money would actually send 15 kids to preschool. And obviously that's a Harvard education, at least for a year, right? And so when we look at those numbers and how we are investing, we're seeing that we would prioritize incarcerating folks over our kids' education, which when kids go to preschool, we know that they are 28% less likely to be incarcerated. And so that same figure that we have in housing a prisoner a year can send 15 kids to preschool, which we know links with not being incarcerated. So we now have a system in place where we not only invest in kids going to school, we have anecdotal and statistical data showing that certain communities are impacted more by sending their kids into our facilities to be institutionalized. And so what happens with the school to prison pipeline is that kids aren't treated as kids anymore. They are treated as criminals, and they start to fill up juvenile detention facilities. And then that gets them ready to fill up our jails and then fill up our prisons. And then as adults, the other side of this school to prison pipeline is that when you've saddled our kids up with convictions, and even when we say we're going to seal your record, I see on the adult side that these things are still being used against adults and saying, well, you got in trouble as a juvenile before. Why should we give you a break now? And these are things that people shouldn't even know about, let alone that should be used against them. The mistakes of a child being used against them when they make another mistake as an adult. And so there are many facets to the school to prison pipeline. And I can tell you that in San Diego, south of the 8 is more affected by the school to prison pipeline than north of the 8. And so we're talking about poorer communities and people of color being most affected by the school to prison pipeline.
Who is the intermediary? Is this the teachers that are getting these kids into these issues, or are these things that necessarily have to be happening in school? Is that why they call it the school? Or like if a youth does something after school, is this still something you're calling the school to prison pipeline?
Absolutely. And just based on the first stat that I gave you, they actually want to call it preschool to prison pipeline because it's even starting before school. But the reason why we're talking about it as a school to prison pipeline is because it affects school age children. And they do affect incidences that start off or end off of school campus. And so we're seeing that a lot more. But also what we're seeing is that schools who have school resource officers very well usher more kids than schools that don't have school resource officers into our courts. And so that means that there's a direct link between those schools that employ these resource officers versus the ones that don't have those officers. You can support me, Jones-Wright for DA 2018, by going to my website, www.joneswright4da.com. That is FOR, not the number, JONESWRIGHTFORDA.com. There you can sign up to volunteer. There's a big red donate button. Even if you don't have a lot of money, I'm getting dollar donations. I'm happy to accept them. This is a people power campaign. So if you can't give a lot, just give what you can because you understand the change that's needed. Follow me on social media. I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. Jones-Wright, the number 4DA is my Twitter handle. Also my handle for Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. Just go to Jones-Wright for DA. You're going to love the videos I put up. I keep it real at all times. So follow me on social media.